Coach, what makes Taylor Hendricks such a good player?
Um, well, talented kid for sure. Got great size. Does not play like a freshman. He just plays like a really good player. Um, Super aggressive, outstanding rebounder. It's the best rebounding team that we've faced that Johnny's had, UCF's had. Um, he's a good man. Shoots 44% from the three, puts on the floor, mid-range game. Shot blocker, athletic. He's a really good player.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go. Let's see who we can go to next. Who has the next question there for Coach Sampson? Raise your hand here in the chat, please, and I will come to you. Anybody have a question for Coach? I want to. We'll go to Andy Yanis. Andy Yanis from Gallery Sports. Go ahead, Andy.
Good morning, Kelvin. How are you doing?
Good, good. And
Good, Kelvin. I want to talk to you about Emmanuel Sharp, and obviously, when it comes to recruiting, basketball standpoint, the skill set that's what stands out. But I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about if there was anything, maybe not personality-wise, or just something that you're not going to see in a stat sheet that kind of stood out to you when you first saw Emmanuel Sharp.
um, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Just is what stood out to you about Emmanuel Sharp? Just that off the court, if that makes sense. Like, was there anything with his personality, something that when you first met him, something that stood out to you about Emmanuel Sharp?
No. Mm-mm.
Cool. I mean, that's it. Appreciate your time.
You gotta, Andy, you gotta come up with a better question than that, man. I think I know
Yes,
where
sir.
you're going, but I'm not. What stood out to me was that he could shoot. I really, really like that.
hmm
I did. He was we recruited him during COVID, so we really didn't get a chance to see him. I didn't see him in person. There was a stretch there at JVA, Emmanuel. We didn't see those kids play live. I remember one of the games that we saw on tape was against Imani Bates' team. I can't remember the name of his team, but I know Emmanuel had 38 points in that game, and he was the best player on the floor. His mother was the athlete of the decade in Canada. His father was scored, I think, 1,400 points at University of South Florida. Played for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Both parents were professional basketball players. I don't know if that helps, but as far as Emmanuel, personality, no. Emmanuel's a great kid.
Thank you, Andy. We'll go back to Chris.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Chris, go ahead, sir.
Coach, Reggie Chaney, how valuable is he and being healthy for him as well? What he provided the team this season?
Say that again.
How valuable is Reggie Chaney and what he brings to the team, and plus him being healthy this year to the team?
Well, being healthy, he was never healthy last year. Most kids probably would have found a reason not to play. There was games where I remember the Alabama game early when he first broke his when he had his injury. The thing was wrapped so tight and so padded. He was catching the ball like this. He bow his hand and just kind of trapped the ball against the top of his wrist. Reggie's started on a Final Four team. We brought in Josh Carlton, backed him up last year. So, we kind of navigated around his injury. This year, it was, coach has to trust his eyes, trying to figure out what was our best fit. We we kind of knew where JVA was headed. second half of last season, just watched him in practice every day against Josh and Reggie. And then when we get to this year, Reggie finally has he had surgery on his knee, he had surgery on his hand. So he was out most of the summer. I think we got him back at second summer session, maybe the second week in July, and just brought him along slowly. So once we started in September, you could tell Reggie was bouncy. It was good to see him healthy because he's a kid that doesn't complain. He's never going to make a big deal out of what he can't, what he does, what he can't bring to the table. That's just not his deal. He's just a winner. It's a security blanket for a coach having a guy like Reggie that you know exactly what you're going to get from him. Reggie can sit over there for 12 minutes, go in at the 8-minute mark. Doesn't bother him. He doesn't think about anything other than how can I help the team. And he's a great teammate. Like yesterday, we got in late from the game didn't start to 8 o'clock in Tulsa. Probably 8:15 by the time it started. So we didn't get back to like 1:30 or something like that. So, we had that kind of practice after a late night, but quick turnaround. So we had to get right into the meat of what we're doing. And, you could hear Reggie, you just stay on the baseline, you can hear Reggie talking to JVA. He's kind of taking him under his wing. And that's fortunate for JVA that he's got a veteran that cares. I mean, right now, JVA goes in the game before Reggie. But Reggie's over there telling JVA, here's what coach means when he's talked. Like yesterday, he's trying to clean some things up from our Tulsa game defensively, especially in our coverage calls that JVA struggles with a little bit because of his experience. But there's Reggie saying, hey, look, here's how you should play that. Here's what he means when he says that. So he's an integral part of our team, but he's also in his 5th year. And he's kind of taken a lot of these young guys under his wing. He's done a great job of helping Jairus and JVA.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning, Joseph.
Kelvin, if I could just follow up on Tremont, how is he a couple days later or a day later on the leg?
Oh, he's fine. He could have went back in the other night. I mean, I think when I think we were up 17 at halftime, then we went on that little run after halftime. Once we got up 25 or something, I put Emmanuel in, and I was going to put Tremont back in, but I decided to go with Terrence, and all the minutes Terrence and Emmanuel can get is good for them. So it was a good chance. It was also good to rest Tremont, but he was back in practice yesterday, bouncing around doing his thing. He does have an injury though. It's a funny injury. You see all these injuries over the years. He's got a thing about the size of a huge walnut. Walnut is calcified. It's right there in his thigh. It's just hard, just like a big hard nut in there, and it's painful.
Is that a Bish and John working it out, or is that a
no? That's John. Bishop does nothing medical,
but it's not a. Okay.
No, it's just
And if
John Houston handles all of our medical. He's the trainer. Bishop is Bishop wears a lot of hats, but he does a lot of the rehab stuff. As far as the injury prevention and maintenance, that's more John. Lucky to have them both.
Kelvin, if I could follow up.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My feed. No, my feed is I think delayed, so I apologize if I interrupted.
Where are you in
I'm on
Beirut?
Saturn apparently.
Jesus, I mean, you did make it back from where was that bowl game at anyway? Where's that at?
Yeah, that was in Shreve. That's in Shreveport. That might as well have been Saturn.
Yeah.
But you mentioned about the opportunity to get parents and Emmanuel in there. I was just curious now that you've gotten into the start of January, close to January, more roles being defined. In terms of where you're comfortable using guys, getting them into games, seeing that production from them.
Yeah, certainly a lot more than it was this time last month. But this team is different in that we have so many freshmen. Jarris Walker's a freshman, Emmanuel's a freshman, Terrence is a freshman, JVA is basically a freshman too. Last year we had fifth-year seniors. Josh Carlton, fifth-year senior, Fabian, fifth-year senior, Tajay Moore, sixth-year senior, Kyler Edwards, fourth-year senior. So whereas last year's team had so many older guys, then coming off the bench, you had Reggie, who was a fourth-year senior, this year a fifth-year senior. J1 was coming off the bench. We had older guys last year. We had one freshman in Ramon that played, but this year we're trying to get these freshmen up to speed as much as we can. But our players do a great job. I give our leadership on our team, our player leaders, especially Jamal, J1, Reggie, Marcus. Those guys do a great job of helping these young kids.
We'll go to Dayon Dunlap from Gallery Sports. Dayon, go ahead, please.
Hey, how's it going, Coach Sampson?
What do you say, Dayon?
Not much. Just going back to Tremont after the game, he said that the game is slowing down for him. What are you seeing from him in regards to picking his spots offensively and then impacting winning on the defensive end, rebounding, and all those areas?
Yeah, Tremont, when you're inside the cave and you see them every day and all their warts, all their weaknesses, their strengths, everything there is about them. And then other people offer an opinion, sometimes you just kind of chuckle because some of the stuff people say about our kids just clueless. Tremont had some good games as a freshman. That's about it. Didn't have a great year. Had some good games. He was playing on he was the sixth man, or I shouldn't say sixth man. He was our first guard off the bench. We had two guards off the bench that year. Tremont, who played a lot more than Jamal. Jamal rarely played. That's why last year was really Jamal's freshman year. Like this year is really JVA's freshman year. But Tremont was never in a position where he was counted on or depended on. He just went in and rested Dejan, went in and moved Marcus over to point, or went in for Marcus, or went in for. So it's hard. It was hard for anybody to say, well, he's going to be this or that. Then last year he was hurt the whole year, so he just never had a chance to get any traction. His game never progressed last year, through no fault of anyone's. It's just the way it happened because of his injury. And once the doctors went in and repaired his labor, and it was worse than they thought, which tells you how tough Tremont was for even trying last year. He probably should have had surgery earlier. Of course, you don't know those things till you go in. And then this year, now he's starting over again. He hasn't played in a year, go all the way back to the Final Four year against Rutgers, Syracuse, Oregon State, Baylor. He was starting to play his best basketball then. Then boom, he goes an entire year and doesn't play. And now he comes in and says, well, he's going to be this, this, and this. Tremont was so further behind Jamal and Marcus. He was nowhere close to their level when the season started. Sometimes the timing of foreign trips, for instance. This would have been a great summer for us to take a foreign trip because of our freshmen, our guys coming back from injury like Marcus and Tremont. This would have been a great foreign trip summer. But, we had the 2 scrimmages, and Tremont wasn't very good. It was okay in one, not very good in the other. But no big deal. He's got to get back up to speed. And then the season started. He had some okay games. Then some other games where he just wasn't making the right play. So there's always one game that's going to be pivotal on your schedule in non-conference. Every year, there's always one game that's you're going to get exposed on some things that you need to be exposed on. Losing a game has never bothered me. I know I've said this a lot of times, but losing is not the be all end all in non-conference. It's okay to lose. When you set up a schedule at Oregon, preseason top 25, at Virginia, preseason top 20, St. Mary's, Alabama, you lose 2 or 3 of those. So what? It's good to see what you have. We lost 4 starters last year. I had no idea how good this team could be. We had good pieces, but you don't know what it's going to look like. But I think the guy that was furthest behind anybody was Tremont, and Tremont needs to be in a system where he's allowed to take 1 or 2 difficult shots. And sometimes a hard shot is different than a bad shot. A bad shot to me is a vomit shot. A difficult shot is a contested shot. So I can live with the difficult shots, but I will not tolerate a bad shot. And Tremont was taking a lot of bad shots early in the season. And then Marcus was taking some bad shots. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. This is the way this thing's going to go. So after the Alabama game, that was a great pivot for us. We pivoted to our assist ratio went up, ball movement was better, and we have some players. A lot of people look at offense sometimes and say, well, you should run this, this, and this. Coaches should run what's best for their team. Like when Princeton offense came out, that's a great offense. What's a great offense for Princeton? It would be a bad offense for us. So our offense for us, if you've got good ISO players like Tajay Moore, the best offense for Tajay Moore was run some kind of false motion, some kind of misdirection, get the movement going one way, send him the other, and let him go ISO and get to his left hand. The best offense for Tajay, one-on-one. Some people say, well, I don't like one-on-one basketball. Well, that's good. Don't watch it. That's the best offense for us is one-on-one. That's what's best. What offense you think Michael Jordan was running? Everybody talked about the triangle. As soon as that ball hit Michael Jordan's hands, that triangle was over. It was called give it to me and go to hell. That was the Michael Jordan offense. So if you got good one-on-one players, you have to give them freedom to play one-on-one. Quentin Grimes was a good one-on-one player. Dejan Jarreau was. Armani Brooks was a great difficult shot shooter. Everybody has something they're good at that might be outside the norm. And Tremont's like that. But the thing Tremont was not utilizing was his ability to pass. I remember going to the NBA Top 100 camp in Charlottesville, Virginia, the summer before his senior year. And the team that Tremont was on didn't have a point guard, and he had to play point guard. And lo and behold, he led the entire thing in assist. And here he was in the first 4 or 5 games. I think he had, I'm not even sure he passed 5 times, much less have 5 assists. So I let him go for a while, just to let him get his bearings. And then at some point, you got to say, here's how we're going to have to win going forward. And I think once we established how we're going to play, and you're always evolving. There's nothing with a period at the end in November. Everything has a comma behind it. Okay, this game. Okay, let's see. I never coached Jarris before. Let's see what he does. Let's see how Tremont plays with Jarris. Here comes Terrence. Okay, Terrence a little bit different than Kyler. One's 23, the other one's 18. A little bit different. Jarris is a little bit different than Fabian. Fabian was 23. Jarris is 18, 19. They're all different now. So he's trying to get all these pieces to fit, and it's just like all these satellites orbiting in space, and you're trying to get them all to stop and get together. And it takes a long time to do that. You have to let them make mistakes. You have to let them have to have success. But, there's no period at the end of what we're doing, but the commas are less frequent now. And I think the guy that's helped us with that is Tremont. He's doing a better job of making the right play instead of just premeditating his plays.
Thank you, Dan.
God, that was a wordy answer, wasn't it? I apologize for that.
We'll go back to Chris Gardner. Go ahead, Chris.
Coach, will you be able to, we have time to see the Rockets and Knicks tomorrow and Quentin Grimes?
No, I don't know. I talked to Quentin a lot. He was texting me from the locker room before they played James and those guys. When was that? Christmas morning. We were texting back and forth. And I told him I said, James likes to go left, Quentin. I don't know if anybody's told you that yet. But if you send him right, he's going to go back left again. But we're just joking around. I don't know. Quentin is on his way, man. He's got tons of family there. I love his mom, Tanya, Marshall, his dad. He's got a lot of family. He doesn't need his college coach in there mucking things up. I just sit back and enjoy his success. We text enough, so I'm not sure if I'll go to the game or not. But Quentin knows I love him and support him and do anything in the world for him.
Thank you, Chris. Got time for a couple more questions. We'll go to Adam Wexler with ESPN and Sports Talk 790. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Coach, you were talking about the importance of your pre-conference schedule and not being worried about losses and things. How valuable has the time on the court together, these month and change that Jamal and Marcus have shared together as they move forward this season?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Adam, because a lot of times what happens for us in games is who do you take out first? Because when you take out Jamal, what works for us sometimes is let bring Jamal out first, so Marcus can slide the point. Now you got Emmanuel going in for Jamal. Now you got Jamal, Emmanuel. I'm sorry, Marcus, Emmanuel, and Tremont out there, right? And then Jamal goes back in probably for Tremont, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, I got to get Terrence in there. But the two foundation pieces are Marcus and Jamal. And then Tremont, the thing that I don't want to jinx anybody, but the thing that I'm noticing about Tremont is just get more comfortable. And having those two guys out there with him really helps him, Jamal and Marcus, because we're becoming more unselfish. We were not an unselfish team early, and sometimes you have to let them fail. You can't always go save them, and that's why losing the game like the Alabama game was a great lesson for us. Something that we can learn. Losing is no good if you don't learn from it. It's not the end, be all, end all. Just learn from it. We could easily lost the Virginia game, and I'm sure that Virginia learned a lot from that game. Look at North Carolina's losses. Look how they're playing now. But our best team is when Marcus and Jamal are on the court at the same time, and it's not just because of offense. They're also our two best defenders on the ball. We do a pretty good job of guarding other teams' actions. We'll scout you. Here's what you run. Here's what you're trying to get to. Here's your reversal points. Whatever our terminology is. But at the end of the day, when actions break down, guys are going to go either play a pick and roll or play ISO ball, play one-on-one. And the two guys that guard the ball, the ball, defend isolation, the best for us is Jamal and Marcus.
Thank you, Adam. We'll go to Adam Winkler with KTRK. Adam, go ahead with your question for Coach Sampson, please.
Good morning, Coach. Hearing you talk about, the commas and not the periods and, kind of the satellites aligning, it sure sounds like, you have to be patient with the different teams. I'm wondering if you've got a target date as to when you need, that sentence to end with a period. Is it as simple as when you get to the tournament, or, do you set things like conference play or calendar years when you really want to see something close to a final product?
Well, as far as a period, how about never? That's never going to happen. After all these years, coaching a basketball team is a lot like landing a plane, man. You just got to land a plane. You're going to have birds flying into propellers. You're going to have turbulence. You're going to have passengers chunking on each other. You're going to have all kind of stuff. But you just got to know how to land a plane. It's not always easy, but you have injuries. You have distractions. You have social media. You have tons of things out there that sometimes that can be anti-team. But and I think that's why as a coach, you have to be really careful about the kind of kids you recruit. I learned a long time ago, if you don't want problems, then don't recruit them. Knock on wood. We had 5 kids, was it 7? I don't want to say. Check with Jeff to get the correct. You look at our team grade point average. Look at what our kids' grade point averages are. Look at the classes they're taking. Look at our graduation rate. Look at our discipline issues we have. That says a lot about guiding your team through a season. When you're allowed to coach basketball and you don't have to deal with discipline issues off the floor, your team comes together a lot quicker, and it's building cement. There's a lot of team success is building sand. They pop up and have a good year, pop up and have a good month. But the great programs have a model that's sustainable, but it all starts with recruiting high character kids.